Imagine this. You wake up one morning. The sun is shining. The coffee is hot. Everything feels normal. Then you hear the news. A cold voice from Moscow. A warning. A threat. One word makes your heart stop. Nuclear. Suddenly, the world feels different. Dangerous, unsteady, on the edge. Will this be just another threat? Or the start of something worse? This is the story of fear, of power, of one man's words, and the world's reaction. This is the story of a warning. Putin's last warning, and what it could mean for all of us. Chapter 1. A cold voice from Moscow. The world was busy that morning. People were going to work. Children were walking to school. The sky was quiet. Then, something changed. A screen lit up. News alerts. Flashing words. Breaking. Putin speaks from Moscow. Cameras showed his face. Cold, still, focused, no smile, no movement. He looked straight into the camera, and he began to speak, slowly, carefully, like every word was chosen with great care. "This is not a bluff," he said. Silence. For a second, no one moved. No one breathed. He spoke about the war. He spoke about the West. And then, he spoke about nuclear weapons. Yes, he said the words. Nuclear weapons. The world froze. Some people laughed. Nervous laughs. Is he serious? Others stared at the screen, shocked. One mother in Germany said, "I was making breakfast for my kids, and suddenly I felt cold." Putin's voice continued, strong, cold, steady. He said Russia would protect itself. He said Russia had many weapons, and, he said, if the West continues to push, we will respond. What kind of response? No one knew. But the way he said it, it felt like a threat. In Washington, leaders held emergency meetings. In London, phones rang in the middle of the night. In Tokyo, the stock market shook. Because this was different. This wasn't just another speech. It was something darker. This is not a bluff. Those words echoed everywhere. People began searching online. What happens if there is a nuclear war? Where is the closest shelter? Can anyone survive a bomb like that? In Ukraine, people were already living with fear. Now, that fear grew. One man in Kiev said, "We're used to bombs." But this is something else. Even inside Russia, some people were afraid. Some stayed silent. Others whispered to friends, "Why is he saying this?" What's next? Experts on TV tried to explain. Some said Putin was just trying to scare the West. Others said, no. This time, he might be serious. And still. His face stayed on the screen, unmoving, unblinking. He ended with one final sentence. Russia will use all tools at our disposal. Then the screen went dark, and the world held its breath. Chapter 2. What triggered the nuclear talk? What made Putin say those words? Why now? Why such a strong threat? To understand, we need to go back a few days, back to the battlefield. The war in Ukraine is long, bloody, painful. It has gone on for months, and still there is no peace. At first, Russia thought it would win quickly, a few weeks, maybe less. That didn't happen. Ukraine fought back, hard, with fire, with heart, and with help, from the West, from NATO, from the United States, Germany, Poland, and more. Weapons came. Money came. Training came. And soon, Ukrainian soldiers began to push Russian troops back. One city, then another. In the east, near Kharkiv, Russian soldiers ran, left their tanks, left their weapons. Some were captured, some were killed. It was a big loss for Russia, a big embarrassment, and for Putin, a red light. He watched it all. He saw the maps. He heard the reports, and something changed in him. Some say he was shocked. Some say he was furious. Others say he was afraid. Afraid of losing. Afraid of looking weak. Afraid of what might come next. So, he made a choice, a bold one, a dangerous one. He announced a partial mobilization. That means more Russian men had to go fight, thousands, even those with no training. Some cried, some ran, some crossed the border to escape. Then, he gave the speech, the cold voice from Moscow, the nuclear threat. Why? Because the war wasn't going his way. Because Ukraine was fighting harder than he expected. Because the West was giving more support than he wanted. He wanted to stop it all. Stop the weapons. Stop the aid. Stop the hope. So he used fear. He used the biggest fear of all, the nuclear one. A weapon that could destroy a city, a country, maybe even the world. He hoped the world would listen, that people would panic, that leaders would step back. This is not a bluff, he said. But was it? Was he serious, or just desperate? And if he was serious, what happens next? That's the question the world is still asking. Chapter 3. Putin's Red Lines. Putin has red lines. He says the world must not cross them. But what are these lines? Where are they drawn? And what happens if someone steps over them? These are not lines on a map, not real ones at least. They are political lines, emotional lines, dangerous lines. He speaks of them often, in speeches, on Russian TV, to his people, to the world. He says, Russia will protect its land, its people, its future. That sounds clear, but it's not. Because sometimes he changes the meaning. Sometimes he says a red line is NATO giving Ukraine new weapons. Other times, it's Ukraine taking back land, or Western soldiers training Ukrainian troops. Each time, the line moves, and each time, the warning sounds louder. If you cross this line, he says, there will be consequences. But what kind of consequences? That's the question. And here is the most dangerous part. Putin also says that some land in Ukraine is now part of Russia. Land his army took during the war. Land Ukraine wants to take back. So if Ukraine attacks that land, does Putin say that's crossing a red line? Does he treat it like an attack on Russia itself? If yes, then what? Nuclear weapons? Total war? We don't know. And that fear, that mystery, is part of the power. Some experts say it's just a game, that Putin is trying to scare the West, that he won't really do it. Others are not so sure. They look at his past, at his words, at how far he has already gone. He invaded a neighbor. He sent thousands of men to die. He took land and called it Russian. So maybe these red lines are real, and maybe he will do anything to protect them. One U.S. official said, "It's like walking in a dark room. You don't know where the tripwire is until you hit it." A tripwire, a red line, a silent warning. And the problem is, nobody knows if they already crossed it. That's the fear. Is it too late to turn back? Is the line still ahead or behind us? The answer could change everything. Chapter 4. Zelensky's reaction. Defiant or afraid? President Zelensky stands in Kiev, not in a bunker, not hiding. He stands in the open air, in the city streets, with soldiers, with people. His country is under attack. Missiles fall from the sky, homes burn, families run, but he stays. He does not wear a suit. He wears a green shirt, simple, military style. His voice is calm, but strong. He speaks to his people. He says, "We are not afraid." He speaks to the world. He says, "We will not run." He looks tired. His eyes are dark. His face is serious. But he does not cry. He does not shake. He stands, and the world watches. Some call him a hero. They say, he's brave. He's fighting for freedom. Others worry. They say, he's risking everything. What if he pushes too far? What if he makes Putin more angry? When Putin gave his nuclear warning, Zelensky did not step back. He asked for more weapons, more help, more support from the West. He said, "We will take back our land." That made some leaders nervous. What if that land is part of Putin's red lines? What if Zelensky's words make the war worse. But Zelensky does not stop. He speaks to the UN. He speaks to parliaments around the world, sometimes by video, sometimes in person, always with one message. Help us. Stand with us. Don't be afraid. His words move people. His story moves people. A comedian turned president. A man who chose to stay when he could have left. But this war is not just words. It is death and fire and fear. Some people ask, is Zelensky being too brave? Too proud? Too ready to fight, even if it costs everything? Others say, if he doesn't stand strong, who will? If he gives up, what message does that send? Zelensky is not just fighting for Ukraine. He says he is fighting for democracy, for freedom, for all of us. But war is not just about ideas. It is about survival. And the enemy is powerful. Putin has the biggest nuclear arsenal in the world, and he's angry. Still, Zelensky does not show fear. Maybe he hides it. Maybe he feels it in private. But on camera, he stands tall. He speaks clearly. He says, "We are not afraid of Russia." The question is, should he be? Chapter 5. What NATO and the West are saying. In Brussels, Washington, London, the rooms are full, the lights are on. Leaders sit at long tables, eyes serious, voices low. They have all heard the same words. Putin's voice, cold, firm. This is not a bluff. Now, they must decide what to do. Stay calm? Stay quiet? Or speak back, loudly? Do they send more weapons to Ukraine? Stronger weapons? Faster jets? Or do they step back and hope it all calms down? There is no easy answer. No safe answer. One wrong move, and the world could burn. NATO meets in Brussels. Military leaders, presidents, prime ministers. They talk for hours. They listen to reports. They ask questions no one wants to ask. What if Putin uses a nuclear weapon? What if we send more tanks and he sees it as a threat? What if we do nothing and Ukraine falls? Each answer is heavy. Each choice dangerous. In Washington, the U.S. President speaks. We take these threats seriously, he says, but we will not back down. In London, the Prime Minister says, we will support Ukraine for as long as it takes. But behind the cameras, behind the strong words, there is fear, real fear. A NATO general says quietly, "This is the closest we've been to nuclear danger since the Cold War." Some leaders want to go fast. They say, "Show strength, show unity." Others say, "Wait, think, be careful." Because one step too far, and the world could change in a flash. The West wants to help Ukraine, but it also wants to avoid World War III. Is that possible? Can you stop a bully? without starting a fire. The West is walking on glass. Every word matters. Every weapon matters. Every move could be the last safe move. So they plan. And plan again. They send weapons, but not the biggest ones. They send warnings, but not full threats. They try to speak strong, without shaking the ground, because somewhere in Russia, a man is watching. A man with power, with buttons no one else can touch. And no one truly knows what he will do next. So the West prepares, quietly, carefully, and all around the world. People wait, and hope, and wonder. Is this the moment before peace, or the moment before something worse? Chapter 6. Fear Across Europe. A normal day. People walking, shopping, drinking coffee, talking about work, school, life. Then the news breaks. Screens light up in Berlin. Shoppers stop. They read the headline. Putin threatens nuclear response. Silence. One man whispers, "Is this real?" In Warsaw, a mother turns off the TV. Her son asks, "What's wrong?" She doesn't know what to say. What if? Two small words, but they echo in every home. What if he means it? What if he uses the bomb? What if this is just the start? Sirens in Finland. Not for war, yet. But for practice, a test, just in case. In Romania, school children do nuclear drills. They hide under desks. They cover their heads. They learn what to do. If the worst happens, from Paris to Prague, people talk. Not about holidays, not about football, about war, about fear, about survival. Older people remember. They remember the Cold War. They remember the sound of planes, the fear of the bomb, the feeling that the world could end any day. And now, that feeling is back. One woman in Prague says, "I never thought I would feel this again." In Norway, families buy food for emergencies: water, batteries, gas masks. In Italy, a man starts building a shelter. Not because he wants to, because he's afraid not to. And still, the news keeps coming. Missiles, explosions, speeches. Leaders say, "Stay calm." But their eyes, their voices, say something else. In cafes, people speak softly. What if NATO joins the war? What if someone pushes the wrong button? What if we don't stop this in time? A student in Barcelona writes online, "I can't sleep. I'm 19 years old. I don't want to think about bombs. I just want a future." Fear spreads, not fast like a fire, but deep, like cold water. It sits in the bones. And in the heart of Europe, there is a memory, a shadow, of old wars. Wars that once destroyed cities, tore families apart, changed history. People wonder, is this the beginning of something terrible, or the last chance to stop it? They don't know. No one does. But one thing is clear. Europe is afraid, and fear changes everything. Chapter 7. The History of Nuclear Threats. This isn't the first time. Not the first time the world felt this fear. The fear of the bomb. The fear of silence, then fire. The fear of one mistake, ending everything. We've been here before. Years ago. Decades ago. It was called the Cold War. Two superpowers. The United States, the Soviet Union. Enemies, both with nuclear weapons. Enough to destroy the planet, many times over. They never fought face to face, but they watched each other. Every day, every hour. And they made threats. Big threats. Deadly threats. In 1962, the world came very close. Too close. Cuba. The U.S. found Soviet missiles on the island, just 150 kilometers from Florida. The world held its breath. For 13 days. Leaders talked. Planes flew. Bombs waited. And then, a deal. No war. No bombs. The missiles left. People cheered. But they never forgot how close it was. Other times followed. Korea. Berlin. Afghanistan. Each time, the threat returned. Each time, the fear came back. But somehow, the world survived. Why? Because of one thing. One idea. Mutual destruction. If one side used a bomb, the other would answer, and both would be gone. That idea kept fingers off the button. It was not peace, but it was survival. Leaders in the past. They were afraid, too. But they talked. They signed deals, treaties, to stop the race, to control the bombs, to protect the future. Now, we ask, can we learn from that time? Can we be careful? Again? Can we stop another disaster before it starts? The past shows us the danger. It also shows us the way back. Talk, listen. Step back from the edge. But there's one big difference now. Back then, there were two sides. Two powers. One world divided. Today, it's more complex, more voices, more risks, and maybe less control. The Cold War taught us fear, but also patience, also caution. Now we must remember. Because this fear, this moment, feels too familiar, and if we forget the past, we may repeat it, and next time, we might not be so lucky. Chapter 8. Could a small strike start a big war? Some experts say Putin won't start a big war. They say he's not crazy. He knows what nuclear war means. He knows what he would lose. But then someone asks, what about a small strike? Just one missile, just one bomb. To scare, to send a message, to show power. that changes everything. Because a small strike is still a nuclear strike, and even a small one can start something big. Let's imagine it. One missile, fired from a truck or a submarine. It lands on a military base, or an empty field, or maybe a city. The damage is huge. Buildings gone. People gone. Fear everywhere. Now what? Does the world wait or strike back? And how big is the answer? One missile for one missile? Or more? Once the first bomb falls, no one knows what comes next. Leaders must decide, fast, in minutes, not hours, not days. And with nuclear weapons, there is no undo, no second chance. One wrong call, and it spreads to more countries, to more cities, to more people. And suddenly, the world is at war. That's why experts worry, not just about big wars, but about small ones. Because small things can grow. A spark can start a fire. A fire can burn a forest. One missile, one bomb, could burn the whole world. Some say Putin just wants to scare us. He won't really do it. But fear can change people, and desperation can lead to terrible choices. If Putin feels weak, if his army is losing, if he thinks the West won't stop, he might choose a small answer. Just to shock. Just to say, look what I can do. And then what? Can anyone stop it? Can anyone calm the storm? Once it starts. History says it's hard. Very hard. That's why world leaders are watching. Every move, every word, every sign. Because no one wants to see that first flash, that first light in the sky. The moment where everything changes, forever. So, we ask again. Could a small strike start a big war? The answer is simple. Yes. Chapter 9. Voices from Russia, Ukraine, and the world. This is not just about governments, not just about soldiers, not just about leaders in suits sitting at big tables. This is about people, real people, with real lives, with real fears. We start in Kharkiv, Ukraine. A mother named Oksana holds her baby. They sit in a cold basement. There's no light, no heat. She speaks softly. I just want peace, she says. I don't care about borders. I don't care about power. I just want my child to grow up. She heard Putin's speech. She heard the word nuclear. And her hands shook. She says, I don't want to die in the dark. I don't want my child to see that kind of light, the light of a bomb. Now we go to Russia, near Moscow. A young soldier, only 22 years old. He doesn't want to fight, but he was called. He had no choice. I don't hate Ukrainians, he says. I don't even understand this war. When asked about nuclear weapons, He looks away. Then he says, "If it happens, no one wins. Not them, not us, not anyone." In his voice, we hear confusion and sadness. He says, "I just want to go home." In Berlin, we meet Lena. She's 19, a student. She's never seen war, never thought about it, until now. She reads the news every day. She can't stop. One night, she couldn't sleep. She had a dream. A bright light, then silence. No one left. She says, "Sometimes I sit in class and wonder, will this be the last normal day?" She doesn't want fear to rule her life, but it's hard. Now she's learning about nuclear weapons, about history, about the Cold War. She's reading, she's thinking, she's hoping. "I want leaders to be brave," she says, "but also wise, strong, but not stupid." Voices like hers are everywhere. In Poland, in France, in the US, in Iran, in China, in Brazil. People are talking, whispering, praying. They want peace. They want safety. They want to believe that this can stop. They don't want power, or war, or bombs. They want life, simple life, with sun, with family, with laughter. Not with sirens, not with shelters, not with smoke in the sky. When they hear the word nuclear, they don't think of politics. They think of children, of homes, of everything that could be lost. Their message is clear. Stop. Talk. Listen. Before it's too late. Chapter 10. The World on Edge. What comes next? The world is holding its breath, waiting, watching, wondering. What happens now? Will there be peace or war? Will someone make the right choice or the wrong one? In Washington, leaders meet. In Moscow, generals listen. In Kyiv, people pray. Time feels heavy, like it's slowing down. But the truth is, it's running out. The risk is high. Too high. Every day, the war continues. Every day, the words grow sharper, stronger, scarier. And behind those words, weapons, real ones, deadly ones, waiting. Can anyone stop this? Can leaders pull back? Can they say, enough? Can they choose peace before pride pushes them too far? Because pride is dangerous, and fear can lead to disaster. This is not a movie, not a story, not a game. This is real. One push, one launch, one moment, and millions of lives could change. The world could change forever. And yet, there is still hope. There are voices, quiet but strong, voices saying, talk, listen, stop. Some leaders are afraid, but they know fear can protect us. Fear can make us think. Fear can stop a hand before it pushes a button. So they meet. Again and again. Looking for a way out. looking for light. People everywhere wait, in silence, in hope, in fear. They ask, can peace still win? Can we still change course? We don't know. No one does. But we do know this. The future is not written yet. It can still be peace. It can still be calm. If we choose it. If we act now. The window is small, but it's open. For now. The world is on edge, but it has not fallen. Not yet. What comes next depends on us.